Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wondered if your emotions are just random stuff happening to you, or if there is a deeper system at play beneath what you feel? Well, this new study dives into that very question. This paper is about how we understand where our emotions come from. For a long time, scientists have debated if emotions are like basic building blocks, like anger or sadness, that are always the same, or if they're more like recipes we create in the moment, depending on what is going on. This research takes a really cool approach, looking at ancient Buddhist philosophy to offer a new way to think about it. It is not just about what emotion you feel, but how that feeling gets built, stage by stage. Think about building something complex, like a computer or even a really good meal. You have different parts, different steps, and different ingredients. This paper proposes that our emotions are built similarly. In layers, there is a lot of talk in psychology about how emotions are constructed, meaning they aren't just like a switch flipping on. Instead, our brain puts together different bits of information, what our body is feeling, what is happening around us, and what we know from our past to create an emotional experience. But here is a tricky part. Even though scientists say emotions are constructed, they often end up talking about them as if they're fixed categories like fear or joy, which are separate kinds of things. This research points out that even in theories that say emotions are built, we still talk and measure them using these fixed boxes. It's like saying a cake is made from flour, eggs, and sugar, but then still calling the final cake as if it is a natural thing, not a construction. This paper argues we need a way to understand the building process itself at a deeper level than just the final label. So, where do we find this deeper understanding? The researchers turned to an ancient Indian school of thought called Yogācāra. They're not bringing religion into science, but looking at Yogācāra as a really sophisticated theory about how the mind works, developed over 1,000 years ago. Think of it like mining old wisdom for new insights into the brain. They focus on two key ideas from Yogācāra. First, the idea of 4 conditions or causes that make something happen. This predates modern ideas about why we feel certain ways. And second, they talk about 5 mental factors that are always present in any conscious experience. These are things like contact, attention, feeling, recognition, and intentional action. They say these 5 are like the basic building blocks of every conscious moment, not just emotional ones. So instead of just asking what is anger, they're asking how is this state of anger being constructed moment by moment through these underlying conditions and factors. They propose a 6-layer model to explain this construction process, going from just noticing a feeling to a much deeper understanding of how it is all put together. One really interesting part is their idea of store consciousness and egoic consciousness. The store consciousness is like a vast storage system for all your past experiences, which subtly influences what you feel now. And the egoic consciousness is that part of you that constantly says I, making everything feel personal. These are things that happen beneath our awareness, but deeply shape our emotions. They're saying that these deeper levels are crucial for understanding emotion, and Western models haven't fully captured them. Let's look at those 5 omnipresent factors. First, there is contact, like when your eyes see something or your skin touches something. Then attention, where you focus your mind. Next is feeling tone, which is simply pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Then apperception, which is your brain's way of recognizing or labeling something, like seeing a cup and knowing it is a cup. Finally, there is volition, which is your intention or will to act. They argue that every conscious moment, emotional or not, involves these 5. It's how they're arranged and emphasized that makes an emotion feel like an emotion. The paper then breaks down emotion generation into 6 layers, each representing a deeper level of analysis. The first 2 layers are about basic awareness and tracing the conditions. Layer 3 is where things get really interesting for current psychology. This is the layer of conceptual name recognition. This is where your brain takes all the information from the previous layers, the body sensations, the attention, the context, and attaches a label to it, like sadness or excitement. It is about recognizing the emotional episode as something specific using a word or category. This sounds a lot like what the Constructionist theories talk about. The researchers make a bold claim here. They say that emotional granularity, a concept in Constructionist emotion theory about how well we can differentiate between subtle emotional experiences, is mostly about this 3rd layer. It is about how good we are at using very specific words to label our feelings. If you are good at granularity, it means you can assign a very precise label to what you are feeling at this conceptual name recognition stage. But here is the Yogācāra twist. They argue there are deeper layers beyond just naming the emotion. Layer 4 is about self-grasping discernment, where you notice how your sense of self is woven into the emotion. Layer 5 looks at dispositional pattern insight. Understanding how past experiences, those seeds in the store consciousness, are shaping your current feelings. And layer 6 is architectural recognition, a kind of meta-awareness of how the whole system works without fixed categories. This is where the Yogācāra model goes beyond current constructionist theory. The paper shows a chart comparing the two. While constructionist theories are great at explaining layers 1, 2, and 3 from basic bodily feelings to naming the emotion, they don't have the same detailed concepts for layers 4, 5, and 6. These deeper layers are about how the emotion relates to your sense of self, your past, and the fundamental nature of how your mind constructs reality. This leads to a really testable prediction. The researchers believe that being good at emotional granularity, that L3 skill of precise labeling, doesn't automatically mean you have deep insight into those later layers of self-grasping, dispositional patterns, or the architecture of your mind. They've even developed a scale called the Granularity Awareness Scale, or GRAS, to measure these different layers. Their main idea is that if you score high on measures of emotional granularity, you should also score high on the GRAS subscale for layer 3, the naming and differentiating of emotions. That makes sense, right? But here is the crucial part that makes it a strong scientific prediction. They predict that high emotional granularity won't strongly correlate with scores on the GRAS subscales for layers 4, 5, and 6. In simple terms, being really good at naming your emotions doesn't necessarily mean you are also really good at understanding how your sense of self is involved, how past patterns are shaping things, or how your mind is constructing everything. To test this, they created the 24-item questionnaire, the GRAS. It has questions for each of the 6 layers, asking people about their experiences. For example, a layer 1 question might be about noticing raw bodily feelings, while a layer 3 question would be about using specific words for emotions. The really novel questions are for layers 4, 5, and 6, asking about noticing the self-framing of emotions, recognizing past patterns, and seeing the whole construction process. So, what does this mean for us? If this model holds up, it suggests that improving our ability to label emotions, which is what granularity research often focuses on, might not automatically lead to deeper self-understanding or better emotional regulation. The Yogācāra model suggests that to truly work with our emotions, we might need to look beyond just refining our emotional vocabulary and explore those deeper layers, how we relate to our emotions, as part of ourself, how past experiences lay the groundwork, and the very nature of how our mind creates our reality. Now, any new idea faces questions. Some might say the Yogācāra ideas are just metaphors, not scientific mechanisms. The authors argue that, like many concepts in psychology, like conceptual categories or predictive priors, these ancient ideas provide a functional architecture to understand the mind, rather than a direct neural map. Others might question if chopping the experience into 6 layers is too rigid. The researchers say these are analytic layers, not necessarily distinct boxes in lived experience, but tools for deeper understanding. They are also upfront about limitations. The 6-layer breakdown is just one way to organize the ideas. The GRAS relies on self-report, which can be tricky, especially for those deeper, less obvious layers. And the model has mainly been tested against Western ideas, so its cross-cultural validity needs more exploration. Ultimately, this paper offers a fascinating new framework for thinking about emotions. It takes the insights of constructionist emotion theory, like the idea that emotions are built, and adds a deeper, layered approach inspired by ancient Yogācāra philosophy. The prediction about emotional granularity being specific to one layer, and the development of the GRAS tool offer a clear path for future research. This research suggests that there is a whole lot more going on beneath the surface of our feelings than just how well we can name them. It opens the door to understanding emotional experiences in a richer, more nuanced way, and potentially to developing new ways to work with our emotions by targeting these different layers of understanding. It is a reminder that ancient wisdom can still offer profound insights into the workings of the modern mind. What do you all think about this layered approach to understanding emotions? Does it resonate with your own experiences? Let me know in the comments below, and if you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a like and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more explorations into the fascinating world of psychology and the mind. Thanks for watching.